Cancel.
Schweezy.
Okay, so it's December, we have to talk Christmas movies. I have to put on the green sweater, and we have to talk about Christmas movies. So those of you watching right now, the one Christmas sweater I own, I will show you right now, the audio only. It sucks to be you. You're going to take another second to find out. Yeah, that's right. We're talking about The Grinch, How the Grinch Stole Christmas, the best one. The Jim Carrey, How the Grinch Stole Christmas, the definitive version of How the Grinch Stole Christmas, the best version. Like, they made a new one a couple years ago, like an animated version, and I'm like, that looks fucking awful, and I'm not watching that. Because, I don't know, and then, they were, like, getting ready to set up this, like, Dr. Seuss universe of movies, like Jim Carrey, then they did Mike Myers' Cat in the Hat, which is a movie I absolutely fucking love. But apparently, the people behind it did not, people I guess who have the rights to the Dr. Seuss stuff did not like Mike Myers as the Cat in the Hat, and I fucking love that movie, I'm telling you right now. So, in the news, they stopped making the live-action ones, and I guess they made some animated ones, Horton Hears a Who, and they made the Lorax, stuff like that. But this is just a pure gold Christmas movie. It was one of those, it's really cool that I was alive when it was in theaters. It's just a really cool thing to remember. I remember, I believe I was living in Kansas, and we'd have to cross state borders. We were just right on the border of Missouri. Go to St. Joseph, Missouri, because that was one of the closest movie theaters to us in a town of 1,000. So, in that, I remember it was the first time. Like, St. Joe is not a super huge city, but it's not super small either. Like, they have all the basics. Like, it's kind of like a bigger college town. Ones that have like the Targets, all the places you can shop and need. So if you like need something, there's a place you can go to and get stuff. At the same time, it's not like Nashville. It's not huge. It's close to Kansas City, but it's not as big as Kansas City. This is the type of town you're getting.
This is the type of guy you get.
So typically the movie theaters, they never sold out. It was like I think it was 8 movie theaters. No, that's the one my parents in Kirksville. That's the one they have. The one I have, I think it was more than that, but I remember then eventually they moved that theater. They made a bigger theater in St. Joe, and that one became like the Dollar Theater. That would they'd show really old movies that are already on DVD or VHS back then. So that's a good memory. I remember we went to that theater, and it was like the first time in my young life that a movie I saw, they were like, oh, The Grinch is sold out. And we were like, no, we couldn't see it. But we eventually found another day to go see it. It was a good time. It was a great movie to see in theaters. So I actually got to see it in theaters. That's really cool. And also ages me a lot. So,
that's rough, buddy.
So going in through it, one thing I love about this movie, and for those of you who know me, they know that I will sometimes just randomly quote things that I think is funny, but no one else laughs and thinks it's funny either. So one mainly being is the scene, I guess he's at his home, and he's just like, he's talking to his echo. He's like, I'm going to repeat everything you say. And the echo's, I'm going to repeat everything you say. And then he's just basically like, I am an idiot. And then the echo's like, you're an idiot. So I quote that all the time. I quote that nonstop all the time. Every time I do something stupid, I'm like, I'm an idiot. You're an idiot. And no one gets it. So if I've ever said that on this podcast, that's where it's from, that movie. It's just like when I say, I can eat as many hot dogs as I want, no buns. That's from the Billy Bob Thornton Bad News Bears. A joke I thought was hilarious, but no one else in the world did. Only me. And so I remember, I just think this movie is 100% a classic. It's up there with Elf. That Elf is my all-time favorite. Will I review it on this show? Probably not. I just think it's too golden for me to try to find flaws in. That's kind of what these things are. We find the flaws in all the movies. All these movies that we've taken for granted our entire lives. So I remember one year, so we had it on VHS. That's something that also ages me a lot. We had The Grinch on VHS, and somehow, like with my parents, what they would do is like we'd have our Christmas movies, and like we'd put them away in storage when Christmas was not in season. So our Christmas movies would be put away, but then all the regular movies were just readily available for all of us whenever we wanted, so to go full throttle.
This is the type of guy you get. Let's go full throttle.
So yeah, I remember one year I was like, I don't want to put this back in storage because I want to make sure I can watch this whenever I want throughout the year. So that's how much I like this movie. And so I remember I thought I was going to get grounded, and if I keep doing this every year, I'm going to get grounded or whatever. But my parents did not give a shit. So that was a cool thing. I thought I was going to get in trouble for not putting it away with the Christmas movies, and I didn't. But we were able to watch The Grinch, and I don't think we watched it in that entire any time like that. It was just available for us. So that's kind of my backstory with this movie. I like to talk about the memories I have with these Christmas movies. I feel like regular movie reviews, I can probably find a story with that, but Christmas movies have a lot more childhood nostalgia with it, so it's just a lot of fun. So yeah, let's just, as Phil Franco would say,
let's just jump into it.
As they would say, let's just see what the movie's all about. It starts out this movie. It starts with some teenagers jumping up the mountain. I don't know what the name is, but with the mountain. But what I don't know what the mountain is, but I think I put it in the note somewhere. But anyways, they try to go to the Grinch's door, be like, "Oh, but the Grinch isn't real," and the girls are like, "Oh, I bet it is." And then they eventually see it. They make it up there. They see a door, and they're like, "Go to some thought."
Be gone!
Some thought in the movie. He's like, "Come on, Stu, go touch the door." And then he goes to the door, and then this giant robot Grinch thing scares him away. And they run/roll down the mountain. I can't remember what they did, and I did not put it in my notes. So scare him. So they got all scared, and so they had to go back to Whoville because of like that. So the Grinch got very upset that someone would try to disturb him. He moved to this mountain for his solitude, and that is what he wants. And
this is the type of guy you get.
So we know who the Grinch is. So he decides to go down to Whoville to cause chaos. And also, Whoville sounds a lot like Jewville, and the Who's sound a lot like the Jews. Is this important to a Christmas movie? No, because Jews don't celebrate Christmas. If I was Jewish, I would just celebrate Christmas for the non-religious reasons that most people do now. So then we meet a mailman named Lou, who is, we later find out is Stu's father. And Lou is a mailman. And now, so this universe technically takes place on a snowflake. Now, how big is the snowflake compared to the Who's? I can't imagine it's that big. It's just mail across town. Maybe that's convenient, and that's why they have a publicly funded post office, But in my mind, it kind of seems like they probably don't need... If Whoville is the only town on this little snowflake planet, I don't think they need a mail service. I feel like you could just hand deliver everything because if it's in town. I have a rule where I'm not going to pay for shipping if it's something in town. I'll just go to the place. That makes a lot more sense. I know buying on Amazon is pretty easy, but come on, if everything was all in town, just go to the store. It's going to cost the same. Do something with your life. And
Come on, Mark, don't be stingy.
And so, yeah, like I said, and then the Grinch goes down to Jewville, and Stu's talking about, we saw the Grinch. And then the mayor, George Bluth, from Arrested Development, he's like, hey, don't bring up the Grinch. He's going to ruin shit, and he's ruining Christmas. Don't. Some of us are trying to stay hard out here, and the Grinch is making me soft. Some wiser people would say in regards to the Grinch. And then we catch back up with the Grinch. He's in the mailroom. He's like, I'm gonna cause chaos. And so all the little cubbies, and the PO boxes, I guess, that people lived in. He's like, and I quote this. I'm gonna quote this exactly how Jim Carrey performed this line. He said, "Jury duty, jury duty, blackmail, pink slip, chain letter, eviction notice." And then that shit's funny to me. I don't know why. I think that's so funny. He's like, jury duty, jury. I don't know. I just think that's funny. We've also decided maybe my sense of humor could be a little broken. I am not the expert in that field, but honestly, I'm not gonna doubt it. The things that make me laugh these days are kind of weird. So all I can say is,
Come on, Mark. Don't be stingy.
anyways, back to the Grinch. Eventually, Lou sends his small daughter. Now, Cindy Lou Who, I learned the actress who played Cindy Lou Who is in my age, like only like a month older than me, like 93, a month older than me. She's born in July. I was born in August, and so now I'm putting this from the perspective of we were the same age when this film kind of came out, or like I was a year or two older because movies have a lot of pre-production shit like that. So yeah, I'm coming through the eyes of me and Cindy were the same age when this came out, and that's also where we meet the Grinch. Cindy Lou Who runs into the Grinch, and she also meets. That's when we're introduced, I think, to Max the dog also, and that's another plot hole in the Grinch because if the Grinch is such a bad guy, why does he have a dog? People with dogs aren't bad people, or shouldn't be bad people. He seems to love his dog. He did get mad at him for celebrating Christmas after he was humiliated by the whole town, but that's in the future. But so yeah, and so he's not a complete monster. Cindy almost dies. She falls down some present chute sort of thing or whatever, and then Max guilt trips the Grinch into saving her life. And so Cindy Lou is like, "You saved my life. You're not a bad guy. You're not a complete dick." And then the Grinch is like, "I still got to prove that I'm bad. I'm bad. I'm bad." And so he wraps Cindy Lou in the wrapping paper, and her father is just like, "Oh, goofy little kids," shit like that. So, and then next scene, Cindy Lou Who starts singing that "Where Are You Christmas," which is an annoying song. That song is really annoying. And it's also, from a songwriter standpoint, could have a lot of problems. Where are you, Christmas? Christmas is a day of the year and a holiday. When you say, where are you, Christmas? You lost a holiday. Like, you can't find a holiday. It just doesn't make a lot of sense, okay? And I just, I could probably analyze word for word everything, but the song doesn't make a lot of sense. So, back to the Grinch. Back on his mountain, he first checks his heart size, which, cardiomegaly is a disease we should all be getting checked with regularly through lab tests or x-rays and everything like that. The Grinch made sure that his heart is not that big, because taking care of your heart health is a good thing. And then, he's checking, like, if he has any voicemail messages. And then he doesn't have any. And then he's like, I'm gonna check my outgoing message. And he's like, it's just threats. His voicemail is threats to people. And he's like, that's why I don't have any calls. And then that was also a thing I was thinking about. Like, why is he paying for a phone plan if he doesn't like anyone and doesn't talk to anyone and just kind of wants to live in solitude, live his life in solitude? That's kind of a plot hole in this movie. It kind of seems like the Grinch is paying bills in his little mountain home, and seems kind of weird. And then people are like, the Grinch doesn't exist, and then they're like, but he's paying bills in this world, on our little snowflake world. But I kind of get, like, the Grinch doesn't want to be around people. I can get that sometimes. I like my friends, but people I don't like, I don't want to be around them. That sucks. I don't want to be around them. So then Cindy Lou Who decides to go into research and do some interviews of everyone in the town, figure out what is the story behind the Grinch. Like, who is the Grinch? What's his life like? Who is he? Who could it be? So she gets her tape recorder. It was 2000, so still very common in households, even on Snowflake Planet, on Snowflake Towns. So we learn in school his origin story, the origin story of the Grinch. He was in the same class as Mayor George Bluth and Martha, who is Cindy's hot neighbor. Definitely MILF time. MILF.
And I really
How did I press both those at the same time? Okay. So basically it was like a Christmas party like the Grinch, only green person on this whole world, the only green person, which is kind of weird to begin with, because maybe he should have went to a doctor. I don't know. Like, he was all furry, but no one else was furry. They just had weird noses. So the Grinch decided he wanted to get into young Martha's pants. So that's what he wanted to do. But the classmates are making fun of him for being 8 with a beard. Now, it could have been the 2000s. I don't know if beards were in back then. But today, if you have a beard, you're pretty cool. And even it just makes you look. It's makeup for men, technically. That, like, women wear makeup, men just need to grow a beard, and that's how they make themselves look better. So he starts crafting this weird ass angel thing for Martha, and it turns out Martha does like the Grinch too. Yet she has the hots for the Grinch. But yeah, and so after he makes a little angel present, he decides, Martha, he'll need to make her an angel and shave his heart. What the hell did I write there? Oh, I think I was meant to say head. I wrote shave his heart. I'm like, what the fuck am I writing here? So, like, he takes the razor, tries to shave himself, and this razor does not look good. It's not anywhere near like a Manscaped. It's not anything I would want to put on my face. Just long things that sound like your skin's gonna get caught in. So he shaves his beard, but obviously, from the razor, he just cuts himself nonstop. It's pretty brutal and pretty awful. And after the class makes fun of him, anyways, yeah, but no, I'm going to say, I think I wrote in my notes, if you use this razor, you will definitely cut your balls. If you try to trim your pubes with it, it will definitely cut your balls. And then, he brings it to class, and the class is making fun of him because he has all these shaving cuts on his face. And that's when he declares his hatred towards Christmas. He then moves to the mountains to become a hermit. Like any 8-year-old would do in any world. He becomes a hermit from just from that moment, which I get. I get being a hermit. I understand it. I don't think I'll do it, but I understand it. So then flash forward, we go to a town meeting, and then they have to nominate for their holiday cheermeister, and Cindy convinces the entire town to pick the Grinch. And then I wrote in my notes, she's the same age as me, Taylor Momsen's Cindy Lou Who's name. So she was like 6 when she was filming it, and maybe 7 when it came out, or 8. Yada yada yada. So surprisingly, she's able to, and then she's like, I'm gonna tell the Grinch. She convinces the town to pick him as the holiday cheermeister. So everyone in the town's like, I guess we're doing this, and they go, and she has to go by herself, a small child, 6 or 7 at the time, to go walk up an entire snowy filled mountain to give the Grinch this invitation. He's a little, and then the Grinch, she wants to do this to heal his heart for Christmas, because she doesn't understand Christmas. She doesn't know where it is, apparently. She doesn't know where a date in the year is. So basically, she wants to heal his bah humbug. So she takes a little bit of entertaining, but I think he eventually decides he wants to do it, even though he's kind of going back and forth. I'll be doing it, guys, because I think a cash prize would be there. And I think at this point in the movie, I noticed me and the Grinch have the same body type, which I wasn't too thrilled to see. It's like, look at that gut, and I'm like, that looks like mine. And so, anyways, he steals a yodeler's clothes, and then shows up to the jubilation. He gets a Christmas sweater put on him over his yodeling clothes. He gets the ride in the chair of cheer in Juville, like how they do at bar mitzvahs. Gets spoon-fed a ton of pudding. Does the conga, fruitcake tasting, and then like this stocking kind of race, bag race. I don't know what they're called. And he wins, and it's like a very good moment for him. He then learns there is no cash prize, which I would feel kind of bummed out at that beginning, that there is no cash prize. And then Mayor George Bluth decides as a gift to give him a razor. Now this brings back all of the Grinch's childhood trauma, which is not cool. That's pretty stingy.
Come on, Mark. Don't be stingy.
So then Then George Bluth decides to propose to Martha with a ridiculously large wedding ring. There's a point with wedding rings, like, you see the nice ones, and then there's some that are just tacky. And this was so big it was tacky. That's, yeah. And so the Grinch just goes on a rampage because he's been triggered by past events from PTSD. And so he, scratches a car, nails on a chalkboard. It was kind of weird. And then causes a scene and then he shaves George Bluth's head in the middle. And then Ron Howard's, brother or whatever who's in all his movies did the same thing to his head in solidarity. He burned down the Christmas tree, steals a really tiny car, then blows up that car. And so he ruined the whole jubilation. And the town's pretty bummed out. But luckily they had a spare tree. And then, so that would be kind of annoying in my mind. Be like, fuck, they had a spare tree the entire time. Fuck this. So that wasn't very cash money of them. So then, obviously, we get to the main meat and potatoes of this story. He comes up with a brilliant idea to steal Christmas. To say, fuck you, Whoville. And so then we get a montage of him setting up all this shit to, you're a mean one, Mr. Grinch, and shit like that. And then Max becomes a reindeer, one reindeer dog to pull an entire sled. Now, I've thought it was funny to have a bunch of pugs move a sled, but that's just stuff I think is funny. Then he starts stealing Christmas, and he's actually doing a pretty good job with it. He's sucking everything up, but he's just making a lot of noise, which I'm surprised no one woke up from. But Cindy finally wakes up, because I guess she needs water or some shit from the fridge, and then she confronts Santa about what he's doing, and he makes up some bullshit, lights are on the tree, I gotta take it with me to the North Pole. Okay, child believes that. And then, I was like, oh, he's hiding himself pretty well, so I guess she won't recognize him. Then the Grinch does show his face, and Cindy doesn't see the Grinch. She still thinks it's Santa, which, like I said, we're the same age. I would have been like, you're not Santa, you're the Grinch. That's 100. I would believe that 100% that that's the Grinch. There's no fooling me. Like I said, I'm a genius, so it'd be hard to fool me in regards to that. So I guess so then the Grinch, finishes stealing all the presents from Jewville, as I wrote in my notes, and then he's getting ready to dump all the presents off the top of Mount Crumpet. So I finally learned the mountain's name in this, and then everyone wakes up the next day, and they're like, the town is all disappointed. It's like, our Christmas presents are gone. And then, obviously George Bluth, the mayor, is blaming Lou and Cindy, and then he's like, hey, this isn't what Christmas is about. We need to know the real meaning of Christmas. And so everyone's like, okay, that's an empowering speech. And so Cindy's like, I got to talk to the Grinch. So she goes down the trash chute to try and get back to him, because that's just an easy way up, but it's not a good way down. It's weird. It's a weird thing. Which makes me wonder why. Oh yeah, and that she goes down the trash pipe, and that leads straight to the Grinch's mountain. And then you remember Stu from the beginning of the movie? They walked up there. You could have just taken the trash chute. So you kind of played yourself there.
Congratulations, you played yourself.
And then and then the Grinch is getting ready to drive everything, but then he's like, oh, here's the town singing together. Then that's how he learns the true meaning of Christmas. And then he develops cardiomegaly, which, if you didn't know, is the enlarging of your heart. His heart grew 3 sizes that day, which can't be good. That has to cause a lot of medical problems, right? An enlarged heart, that has to cause a lot of problems for his overall health. But then Cindy somehow gets to the top of it, and he's like, I gotta save your life. And then all the presents go down the mountain, sleigh ride, and it stops in Whoville, and everyone gets their presents back. And that's how the story ends. He gets the car of the roast beast, which I assume roast beef is similar, but it looks like a turkey. I don't know about the animals on this snowflake land, okay? That's the end of the story. Everyone gets their presents, the Grinch has cardiomegaly, and everyone lives happily ever after. So ending this, we always have to talk about what is the meaning, what is the lesson we learned from this movie? So one thing I would say is, don't mess with a weird kid, because, they're going to shoot up the school. I would tell all children this. You don't have to be best friends with the weird kid. But you also should just be nice to them. You don't have to, be nice to the weird kids, because when they shoot up the school, fingers crossed they don't. But if they shoot up I'm going to say if they shoot up the school, you don't want them to go after you. They're going to probably leave you. Like, you're cool. Stay here. Or they'll text you, you're cool. Don't go to school tomorrow. So I'm like, cool. So, yeah. And so that's a lesson I learned. Also another lesson I learned, children are dumb, because if I was 8 years old and a kid had a full beard, he'd be the coolest kid in class. Like, do you know children are the coolest kid in class? These children on this snowflake are dumb fucks, and they shame a child for having a beard, which would never happen in the real world. You'd be the coolest guy in school if you had a beard. Woman would be weird, but I think if you're a guy, you'd be the coolest thing in school. Another lesson, I believe, and I think this is the last lesson, always stay alert of your heart health, because cardiomegaly is a dangerous disease. You can have a lot of health problems. That could cause stroke, could cause a lot of other health problems in regards to that. A stroke is something you really take a hold of. But, cardiomegaly is something you should check on. And, if your heart grows 3 sizes one day, you need to go to a doctor or the hospital to see what they can do for you and see if there's any assistance they can give you, any medication they can give you, hopefully shrink the size of your heart. So that is How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Like I said, one of my favorite movies, favorite Christmas movies, a classic, I would say. It is 100% a classic, and something I believe everyone should watch. It's a year. If you're going to watch Christmas movies, make sure The Grinch is on your list. Well, look at you. You just finished one of the many highlights from Cancel Schweezy. Glad you watched, and I hope you learned something important in your life today. We have more highlights available for you to watch, available now for you to watch. And we got full episodes as well. So don't be stingy and go watch another highlight. And like I said, stay awesome.